Welcome to Managing Nebraska's Public Roads and Streets Planning and Reporting. This video focuses on the managing of assets for counties and municipalities. Since one of local government's main reasons for existing is to provide constituents with services, streets and roads, water, possibly others such as electricity, how assets for those services are managed has a tremendous effect on the budget, the goodwill of constituents, and the overall health and well-being of the community. This is the fifth topic in a series of videos, the purpose of which is to summarize Nebraska's management of public roads and streets as directed by state law and also by rule and regulation. Transportation asset management is not required by statute, rule, or regulation in Nebraska. However, state statutes emphasize good management of roads and streets, and this video is offered in that light. The target audience is county highway and city street superintendents and those aspiring to attain those positions. Elected officials and anyone interested in the management of the state's public roads and streets are also encouraged to view this. Generally, in the context of your agency, assets include people, equipment, buildings, land, and other components needed to provide a function or to deliver a service or a product to residents and taxpayers. The emphasis of this video is on physical assets, things. Transportation assets range from minor low-cost, low-risk things such as street identification signs to higher-cost, higher-risk assets like stop signs and traffic signals to high-cost assets, pavement for example. This picture shows a typical small Nebraska town in which you can see several assets, street signs, stop signs, street lights, pavement and curbs, curb ramps, and so on. You can go beyond transportation assets and include storm sewer, water and sanitary, electric lines, and more. Some of these are underground, and some of these you may not even know where they are located. These assets are essential to protecting public health as well as for economic development. It's a lot to keep track of, but you can't manage what you don't know you own. Who manages all of this? Ultimately, the council or board, the mayor and administration, employees and extended staff, contractors and consultants. The focus of this video is describing what is transportation asset management and why use this approach. The when, well, it is a continual process. As far as the who does it and the how, it must be a sustainable effort done by the agency staff and must be supported at the highest levels of the organization. Your agency may already be doing some elements of a full-fledged transportation asset management system. The intent of this video is certainly not to be critical if your agency does not currently have an asset management program, only to introduce its concepts and let you decide if it is an approach that could help improve the performance of your road or street department. Thinking of your infrastructure, do you know exactly what assets your local government owns, where they are all located, their condition, when they need to be repaired or replaced, and how much money you will need to pay the bills, and documentation showing all of that information that is readily accessible? Have you identified critical assets and thought about how you will manage risks in the event of a failure? Are you concerned about liability created by the failure or absence of an asset? Is your community able to have reasoned and open discussions about spending on your infrastructure based on facts? When you have employee turnover, how much knowledge is lost and how difficult will the transition be? Transportation asset management addresses all of these concerns. The economic and political environment can be difficult for elected officials and staff. The nature of man-made things is that they deteriorate with age. Infrastructure across our country is aging and failing at an alarming rate. Many taxpayers expect the same or better level of service for the same or less money, even if costs go up. As you see on this slide, the condition of assets usually changes over time. The darker colors, the poor conditions, or the expected life has been exceeded, grow larger over time, especially if not managed well. An emphasis on a disciplined, organized asset management approach has emerged as a response to the realization that there is often a funding gap between the current condition of assets and the investment needed to maintain or replace those assets. The initial investment is just the start of spending, anything you buy or build must be maintained over time. There are costs associated with that, which for some assets may be several times the initial investment. Subjective and short-sighted decision-making can lead to loss of public funds and loss of credibility. Not having documentation of assets can get the city in a bind because of employee turnover. With all of the problems elected officials and staff deal with these days, you don't need problems compounded by not being proactive in your management of assets. The next two screens show an example of strategically managing an asset, in this case, pavement. This is a pavement deterioration curve. Pavement condition is represented on the vertical axis. Time is represented on the horizontal axis in years. After a pavement is newly built or reconstructed, it deteriorates gradually, but usually stays in excellent to good shape for a few years, then begins to deteriorate more rapidly, the steeper part of the curve in the middle. The bottom right part of the curve represents a pavement in poor condition. At some point, there are structural distresses. The base is failing, called the critical distress point. At that point, reconstruction is required. Above that dashed line, less expensive maintenance or resurfacing strategies can be used to extend the life of the pavement, as demonstrated on the next screen. An asset preservation approach with appropriate lower cost preservation work done to extend the life of the pavement usually proves to be much less expensive than a worst first strategy, which involves a rapidly deteriorating pavement followed by an expensive reconstruction project. The key to managing the asset in this case is to know its condition and apply the appropriate fix at the right time. Let's take a look at a hypothetical example using recent county data and some typical spending assumptions. The county data are median values and therefore do not represent any particular county. The cost assumptions may not be what your particular entity currently pays. Focus on the concept presented here, not the particular numbers. You can plug in your own numbers and do a quick analysis for your own county or municipality without even knowing the condition of your facilities. This will show the problem with the worst first approach to asset management. Among Nebraska counties, 800 centerline miles of roads is the median figure. The vast majority are unpaved roads. The median is 767 miles. This example assumes that 50 of those unpaved miles are minimum maintenance. There are usually some paved roads outside of corporate limits. The median figure is 33 miles of paved roads. The median number of lineal feet of bridge-sized structures in Nebraska is about 7,000 lineal feet. These are bridges with an opening of 20 feet or more along the center line of the road. Now let's look at what those facilities cost to maintain and replace over the long term. This example assumes a cost of $1,800 per mile to maintain a gravel or aggregate road over the long term, many years. The historical cost for your agency may be different. You may find that the $1,800 per mile figure is either low or high in your experience. That is okay. Pay more attention to the analysis than the actual numbers. To keep the example as simple as possible, roads classified as minimum maintenance are assumed to have a negligible cost. For this example, for paved roads, the pavement life is assumed to be 15 years, with little or no maintenance done during those 15 years. The cost of reconstruction is assumed to be $600,000 per mile. That results in an annual cost of $40,000 per centerline mile per year. Bridge-sized structure replacements are assumed to cost $4,200 per lineal foot with a 60-year lifespan. That results in an annual cost of $70 per lineal foot per year. Applying those assumed cost figures to the median county network of roads results in the following average annual costs. 717 miles of gravel and aggregate roads, including labor, equipment, gravel, and supplies, is about $1.3 million. If the worst first approach is used for the paved roads, an average annual budget of approximately $1.3 million is required. Replacement of 7,000 lineal feet of bridge-sized structures annually would run about $500,000 per year on the average. None of this accounts for replacing bridges and structures with an opening less than 20 feet along the center line of the road, or other expenses. Assuming $200,000 for those, the total is approximately $3.3 million. The roads budget for the county that received the median amount of Highway Allocation Fund distributions in fiscal year 2017 was $2.8 million. That would be a deficit of around $500,000 or 15% of the $3.3 million of identified needs. Notice that the annual need, $3.3 million, is triple the $1.1 million in Highway Allocation Fund distributions received. This is not unusual considering the extent of annual needs for a county road network. Again, this is an example scenario. You can do this kind of analysis using actual numbers and cost estimates for your county or municipality. If your bank account grew by that much each year, you would be extremely happy. But if you were going into debt by that much each year, well, you can see that at some point, quicker than you would think because of the double-digit rate, there will be some serious problems. The local government may need to close bridges and roads. User costs may go up because rough roads cause more maintenance on vehicles, or safety could be compromised. By not using simple maintenance strategies at the right time and right place, opportunities are missed. At some point, when all this comes to light, the public will likely lose trust in the leadership of the entity. Using strategies that extend the life of your facilities becomes not just a good thing to do, but essential. Using strategies to extend the life of pavements, such as crack sealing, seal coat, overlay, mill and fill. Addressing issues with bridge-side structures right away to increase their lifespans, and a program to inspect and properly maintain smaller structures are important to the long-term health of your entity's road and street network. Managing your facilities by knowing what you have, their condition, and extending their life as much as possible is critical and essential for your county or municipality. In some cases, asset management may not get your entity out of the hole, but applying asset management principles and strategies over time will help soften the blow. Lack of good asset management programs can result in disastrous situations. The screen shows an example where a county that did not have an asset management program was involved in a $1 million lawsuit due to a culvert washout. The asset that wasn't managed properly was a minimum maintenance road that wasn't inspected, then vacated, with the county retaining ownership. Neither the culvert nor the right-of-way were inspected for condition, nor were the signs installed correctly at the time of the crash. Tens of thousands of dollars were spent defending the county in this case. This could have been prevented by turning public rights-of-way back to the adjacent landowners. Similar liability situations could occur with equipment, pavement management structures, culverts, and other assets if not managed properly. Because of deteriorating asset conditions and lack of money to maintain assets, many counties and cities across the country seek a different way of doing business. Transportation asset management can be defined as an ongoing, systematic process of recommending the most timely and cost-effective way of preserving, replacing, upgrading, and operating physical road and street assets. Another way of saying it is a process for maintaining a desired level of customer service at the lowest appropriate cost. Asset management shifts the focus from operations to assets. It takes the long view versus the short-term view, and it is about a sustainable approach, not immediate results. It is a change from reactive to proactive, and from project management to network management. Asset management originated in private industry and is used in many industries with a substantial asset base, such as electric power, telephone, trucking, and railroads. You have likely heard the mantra, "Run government like a business." In some ways it can't work like that, but asset management gets you closer. Think of transportation asset management as a way of providing some business discipline. Transportation asset management affects the goals shown on this screen. Maintaining assets, continual planning based on need, and containing costs. Part of the emphasis of asset management is on more information on which to base decisions, which leads to more accountability for officials charged with making those decisions. It is directed toward defined performance goals. Assets have a solid return on investment or face changes similar to the way in which private industry focuses on market share and rate of return. Asset management provides a big picture view for an asset, say street surfacing, or a group of assets, say transportation or public works, enabling performance to be tracked and improved continually. Your agency can begin to gradually phase in and implement an asset management program right now. It can be tailored for your community and can build on existing information. This is not a solution in search of a problem. If your system is running fine, if it's working for you, then stick with it. The City of Hickman has an asset management program. They were motivated to improve their succession planning, to bring new leadership and staff up to speed much quicker by having an up-to-date inventory of their assets. In addition, the city has benefited from its asset management data to prove its diligence and avoid a legal liability judgment, and by having an organized system, is saving crew time. This does not mean that transportation asset management is appropriate for all entities. It must be a sustainable effort. It requires time, effort, and money to build and maintain a database and analyze the data, needs employees to have the time available and be assigned the responsibilities, needs a champion, and needs top-level support. These are some additional resources for asset management. The first bullet shows the Federal Highway Administration's asset management website, which has a lot of resources. The second reference is to Michigan Tech University's webinar, which introduces transportation asset management concepts and provides a good introduction to the topic. The third bullet is the Environmental Protection Agency's asset management website, which comes more from the viewpoint of the water and wastewater side of public works. The last bullet is for resources on Nebraska LTAP's website. This was the fifth topic in a series of videos, the purpose of which is to summarize Nebraska's management of public roads and streets as directed by state law and also by rule and regulation. It was a brief introduction to transportation asset management. The concepts that were presented are not required by Nebraska rule and regulation. However, state statutes do emphasize good management of roads and streets, and this video was offered in that light. Although the transportation asset management approach may not be sustainable for all entities, especially those that are small and lack resources, it is a powerful approach that helps plan maintenance work and capital improvement projects, allows smoother leadership transitions, helps in liability situations, and can be a time saver for employees.